we only had it open for 6 months, but we were promoting a 30% annualized rate of return with a 2-year hold. And I just launched fund number 2 with them, and we have adjusted those returns down based off the investor feedback, which was I want shorter hold times, I want more flexibility on my exit, and I want consistent cash flow. So what we did, we just said we're going to do 16% preferred returns. We're going to pay you out quarterly.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Post podcast. I'm Kristen, and I'm here with Nicholas Abraham. He's got a lot going on. He's a real estate investing relations professional, working in the industry for half a decade now. He's the founder of InvestorDD.com, and he's also the author of the Sophisticated Investor newsletter. So we're going to talk about everything from marketing to syndicates to due diligence. There's a lot to cover here. So thanks for being here, Nicholas.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Kristen.
So let's get to the beginning. I mean, I know you have so much on your plate. How did you kind of get into this line of work?
Yeah, started a family business. My grandfather had a 10-unit apartment complex. I grew up mowing the lawn, doing the tree trimming, bushwhacking, all that stuff on my weekends. And then I also saw my father, he has to pay a lot of taxes every year. And so he bought a piece of land in Ohio, and we started during our summers in middle school going down and baling hay. And so I had to work on big heavy machinery. I had a lot of time to sit on that seat in the tractor and mow grass and bale it up. And I would take all those funds that I'd make every year and I'd put them into a Roth account and start day trading back in so back to middle school, I started day trading, in which I'm going to date myself. That was 2009, which was a really good time to get into that market. But it was a lot of the principles that you start to read about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I had never read that book, but I saw my dad work hard for his capital and his money was never working for him. And I said, I want to do something a little bit different than spending my time for money. And just started getting my money working for me very early. So that's how I got into the space. That sent me down an econ finance route. I ended up graduating early while working for 2 Fortune 500s. Upon graduating, I developed a $25 million business right out of college, and a hurricane put me out of business. I had to lay off about 2,000 folks, and I got a lot of marketing skills. I was spending maybe 50 grand a month on lead flow, and we're in 10 different states when that hurricane came through and wiped us out. And I said, all right, I need to go into a better industry, and just pivoted into real estate since I already knew about it, understood it was stabilized. And that was a really, really fun and good turning point for me in my career, and just niching down into something that a lot of people understood outside of, the company I had been running to that point.
I mean, I can't get over how you were day trading in middle school and you had a Roth IRA. Like, that's incredible to me. How did you even know what that was? I feel like I just learned that like as an adult.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like that's when most people learn about these kind of things. And even within those accounts, they don't know that they can self-direct them into real estate opportunities. Now that there's a little bit more flexibility coming out with Trump and some of the policies to open up 401ks, but it was just all thanks to my grandfather and my father who, set it up for me and just said, "Hey, put your money here." And it was like a light bulb moment. One day I saw more money in that account that I had made.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
In a day than I had all summer long laboring out in the field. And so
Wow.
for me, that was a big light bulb moment. And so from that point, I just started day trading one stock. I started reading all the books, Intelligent Investor, Little Green Book of Value Investing by Benjamin Graham. So a lot of my foundational investment philosophy comes from Warren Buffett and Warren Buffett's mentor. And it's like, you buy a stake at sale, and you just you value invest. And that was one regional bank I was day trading. Then fast forward a couple of years, the big thing that started happening was iPhones. Everybody was giving up their Juke, their Razor, their Nokia, the NV Touch 2, and they started raving about iPhones. And so I just dumped everything I had into Apple and just rode
Wow.
that train over the last decade and a half. And
My gosh.
now that's funding my self-directed investments into real estate. So it's been really, really powerful tool, especially when you have that compounding effect, over a few years.
Wow. I think a lot of people would have loved to get in on Apple earlier. Such amazing foresight. So it's no shock to me that you're now designing funds and you're, the one kind of leading these syndicates. So tell me more about that. Tell me about your work in that space.
Yeah. So transitioning into the real estate syndication space, I moved up to Charlotte almost half a decade ago and started working with a private equity firm as an investor relations professional. My company I used to have was a solar company. So this is back in 2016, 2017, 2018. And a lot of times I was selling a $50,000 system. And I just said, there's not really a big difference between a $50,000 solar system and putting on your roof and a $50,000 investment. And so for me, that was the big kind of transition into more of a high value skill and something I was always working towards because my background was an econ and finance degree. So, my plan was to go to Wall Street and do all that stuff. And between college classes, I was in there with the Bloomberg server, the 360 ticker going around the room, and I was day trading. So investments has always been a passion of mine, but real estate always, was something I understood. And so pivoted into that with the private equity groups. And that's when the multifamily space was just taking off. Self-storage was taking off. Shortly after, we see car washes. So, you did a roll-up strategy through that. And most recently, it's been new construction. So I try to align myself with the groups that have some kind of competitive advantage. I want to invest my own funds. I don't qualify as an accredited investor. I don't have that kind of net worth personally, but as someone who works for the firm, I can loophole through the SEC guidelines as a knowledgeable employee, and I can invest in the funds myself. And so most recently, I got hired on with Red Cedar. They're Charlotte's 5th largest home builder. We're actually the largest provider of build to rent in the state with a Southeast presence, regional presence, and we're vertically integrated from developing the land to construction supply company to title company, sales team, mortgage company. And we are pretty much set up just like a DR Horton or Lennar kind of price per square foot to build, which you saw probably Warren Buffett just did another $800 million investment into that group. You follow the trail of the guys who know what they're doing, and you tend to be pretty successful. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just got to recreate it.
Wow. That's so impressive. Can you talk more about the opportunity in new builds right now?
Yeah. My jaw dropped when I came in. I'd actually met this group about 5 years ago when I moved to Charlotte. I was going to use them to build my house I had designed. and I was just looking for land. And then when rates started going up, I never found land. So they ended up calling me about a year ago and they said, "Hey, Nick, we're getting more sophisticated. We have a bunch of investors. We want to, have someone who understands the SEC capital raising rules. It can help us design the fund and launch it." And so I came in, I pulled together their whole track record, and my jaw dropped when they were telling me the returns. They're building and selling a house for 400,000 roughly, and they are building it for about 300,000, and they're taking a $50,000 investment from the investor to buy the land, the reserves, and to build the house in a 6 to 8 month turnaround time.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And so when you think about those margins, they're building it for 3, they got an investment for 50, and they're selling it for 400. So you're putting 50 in, you're getting 50 back out. They're doubling money every 6 months to 8 months on average. And I said, that's extremely powerful relative to multifamily or commercial real estate, where you have to wait 3, 4, 5 years. In the pro forma a few years ago, now it's more like 7, 8, 9, 10. And we have a bunch of people who are now buy and hold commercial investors relative to what the market's been producing with rates and some of the liquidity events that are going on with the distressed nature of those deals. So I have seen a huge turn from the investors into more short-term trend forward things. And so one of the large things that's been really trendy is the build to rent space. So we actually just did a deal with Carlisle and New Star, and then we supply a couple other institutions like Mandrake and Quinn with BTR projects. And very interesting. I think it's really coming down to the firms themselves and how they've positioned themselves relative to stand out and be a little bit more competitive and risk adverse. So relative to like a 2007, 2008 builder, they would have all these subdivision deals they would have on their own balance sheet. But what Red Cedar does is they'll buy the land, they'll develop out the lots, but then they will sell that land to the institution. The institution now takes that onto their balance sheet. They take the risk, and then they hire us per diem, per house. We make a set fee. So it de-risks the builder platform as well.
Oh.
And these guys did about $100 million in revenue last year, ranked 36th fastest growing company in Charlotte by Charlotte Business Journal. And it's been a terrific year with them. So it's actually been a record year for me and the investors. So our first fund we launched earlier this year, we only had it open for 6 months, but we were promoting a 30% annualized rate of return with a 2-year hold. And I just launched fund number 2 with them, and we have adjusted those returns down based off the investor feedback, which was I want shorter hold times, I want more flexibility on my exit, and I want consistent cash flow. So what we did, we just said we're going to do 16% preferred returns. We're going to pay you out quarterly. And then I specifically designed the fund with the share classes to be exit hold times. So if you want our Class A, that's a 1 year, Class B is a 2 year, and Class C is a 3-year hold. So customizing the design of the fund around the investor preferences is a huge benefit in my line of work, whereas most groups are just trying to give you a Class A, Class B, here's a straight pref, here's a pref plus promote, and you're stuck no matter what for 3, 4, 5 years, if you're lucky at this point, right? So that's how that's been going.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, so much going on. I think that it makes so much sense with the new builds. It sounds like a really exciting opportunity. And I love how you're all about transparency around capital raising, and that's kind of the angle you're approaching with these funds.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just a middleman of ethics between the general partners and the LPs, right? I think a lot of GPs are just, how do I get the money? LPs are, how do I make sure I'm doing the right deal with the right group? And they've never looked at underwriting before. They don't mostly know about cap rates or how IRR is manipulable. And so with my background being econ finance and having looked at a lot of these deals, it's okay, here are some spooky things inside the underwriting that give me some qualms. Here's some pretty aggressive assumptions on lease up or maybe the rent bumps relative, or more specifically in the most recent environment, I think groups were still targeting these loan assumptions, but their entry cap rates were compressed 4, 4.5, 5, but, most of the market average was, 5.5 to 6 to 6.5, depending on what asset class. And so there's yield sitting there day one that some investors maybe overlooked, and maybe some syndicators didn't really understand how it was competitive or not competitive relative to what the market was dictating with the increase of rates. So it does get very complex very fast, but you need someone. And that's why I always say, hey, even if you're not, Mr. or Mrs. Investor, even if you're not going to go with me and my deal, if you have a deal you like, send me your underwriting. I'll take a look at it, and I'll just be that point of value. Save my number, because I know this is a long-term relationship business, and I want to be your go-to guy, no matter what it is. And I know that will pay me dividends over the decades, because my goal is, one, to be a master communicator, and two, I want to be able to pick up the phone in 10 years and be able to raise $10 million in 10 days, right? So it's all day by day, brick by brick, investor by investor, relationship by relationship.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Absolutely. It definitely is an industry where the more value you give, the more you do end up receiving in the future. But I mean, it's just great to make the connections and really help people out. I'd love to talk about your newsletter, The Sophisticated Investor, kind of going off of that. How are you? I imagine you're educating people on kind of best practices.
Yeah. Not so much, I would say, maybe best practices, but just like my recent article was just a view from the investor relations desk, what I'm noticing in trends. That one's a little bit more geared towards the GPs and, some of that design, structuring of your funds and how it is able to create a little bit more demand relative to the investors and what the investor preferences have been recently. Most of my articles are geared towards the LPs, educating them around. Like, a lot of investors don't know, but they think the Fed controls interest rates, but it's actually a function of the 10-year treasury relative. And so there's small things like that I try to help educate folks on that maybe aren't as easily understood, especially if you have limited knowledge and you weren't introduced to IRAs when you're, in middle school and been doing this your whole life. A lot of folks get started late in their 30s and their 40s and their 50s and their 60s, and they're just trying to catch up, and they see these wild, return metrics on commercial real estate, and they said, I never knew this existed. But to be fair, they never had access, or unless you knew somebody. That was the old way of doing private equity. You had to know someone who knew someone who was doing these deals, and that's how you got into these. And unfortunately for most Americans, that's just not the network that we keep. We're doctors, we're lawyers, we're trading time for money, and those were the wealthy folks that we saw as community leaders, and that's how that all just kind of transpired with social media and getting more access to folks that are doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so impressive everything you're doing, because we're not even scratching the surface. We have so much more that you're up to. InvestorDD.com. Tell us about that due diligence, helping people in that way now.
Yes, yeah, investor-dd.com. That is a free resource that I actually coded myself using some of that vibe coding AI technology out there. But yeah, I always have these great ideas, and I always wish I could make them come true. And I tried to learn how to code way back in the day, but it was like learning Spanish. It just didn't click for me. So I did vibe code that myself. And that is a platform that basically takes the general partners, they can sign up, and then they can send their investors reviews to take out on the firm. And so it goes way into depth, what deal you're involved with, what your level of experience is, all the top questions that they're typically asking the investor they want me to introduce them to so they can ask them some due diligence questions. The problem with that for most groups is the investor asks you for, a referral. Well, as an investor relations professional, most of the time, you're probably going to give them the best investor that you can, to give a good review, right? Who's going to help sell that project, which is a little biased, right? And so part of that ethics and transparency is, well, let's just apply all those top questions to all the investors and give the context of how long they've been investing, how many deals they're a part of. And so now you have some background on this 1-star review, was this a guy who's been investing for 10 years and has done 25 plus deals? Or is this the folk who, just got involved, they put $50,000 in for their first investment and it wasn't what they thought it was going to be because someone didn't explain it properly. So you're able to get a little bit more of context around the reviews, a more well-rounded perspective of the due diligence process. And then I actually added in some additional AI matchmaking. So when you fill out your profile as the investor and you have your profile as the general sponsor, the AI will match you with firms that you are looking for or maybe represent the deals that you've done before, but you can select on their multifamily, self-storage, debt products, all these types of asset classes that most time you probably don't know about. Most know about multifamily now, but there is a whole host of opportunities out there relative. Now, me personally, I like the real estate backed stuff. That's where I tend to spend my time and where I recommend investors go because I can see it, I can touch it, you can lick it. It just is the thing that gives me the most security, but it's also my background growing up. So I'm familiar with that the most.
That's incredible. I mean, you're giving so many resources to people to really feel confident in their investments.
Yeah. Yep. Again, my motto is add as much value as you can to everyone you meet, anywhere you go, and don't expect anything in return. And that, just play the power connector. Relative. I just got off the phone this morning with a gentleman. He's looking for 700,000. I have an investor who meets the criteria. I can't use it for my own fund, but I said, hey, let me connect you with him. And hopefully you guys can do the deal. And if you want to hire us to be the builder on it, let us know, right? And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But he's probably going to pick up the phone next time he has someone he needs to pair them with an opportunity and say, Nick's your guy. And so I get stuff like that all the time that just comes back to me in dividends.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so amazing. Establishing such strong relationships that I'm sure you have repeat people working with you all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, thank you so much for kind of breaking down kind of the different elements that you're a part of and the free resources you're providing. Tell everybody where to find you, how to subscribe to your newsletter, all of the things to reach you with.
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best. I don't do anything else. I don't post on Instagram. I don't have a TikTok. I don't have a Snapchat, no Twitter. I'm a LinkedIn man. That's my most active platform, pretty much the only thing that I'll do. But you can find my profile, just type in Nicholas Abraham, and you'll see my profile pop up there. But yes, you can find a link to the investor-dd.com on there, and you can subscribe to the Sophisticated newsletter as well.
Incredible. Well, I really encourage everyone to check out all of these resources. I'm sure they can be very valuable to your business. Thank you so much for being here, Nicholas. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for having me on, Kristen.
Incredible. Well, everybody check out the newsletter, check out those websites, and yeah, reach out to Nicholas on LinkedIn. He has a lot of info to share. I can't even get over how early you started in the investing world. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We will see you back next time. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.